Hi, welcome to my first YouTube live stream. Hold one second. I'm going to join the Facebook one as well, and we'll get started. Welcome, friends. So for the first time ever, I am streaming live not only on Facebook, but also on my YouTube channel. So you can check me out in both places. It's very cool. So today, I had a few things I wanted to talk about. Before I get to Ashcroft, who, for people that have read the first book, Ashcroft is the main bad guy. Before I get to him and delve into him, I want to talk for a minute about the writing community. So there are a ton of independent authors out there. I am not the only one. There are lots of us. And there's lots of Facebook groups that are very supportive, and, writers post inspirational things. They share their stories. They share promos about their books and help each other get excited about different things. And one of the things that comes along with that are people who do podcasts or streaming videos with interviews and stuff from authors. So I had an experience on a Facebook group last night that was very disheartening. There was a podcaster who was announcing a new podcast idea of his to focus on horror and murder mysteries. And I'm not going to go into names because I'm not petty. I'm not trying to call the person out. I'm trying to create a call of action to all of us out there in the community to really support each other and help each other and use the right voice. So he posted an advertisement on one of these Facebook groups saying he was starting this podcast and he was interested in finding authors that would like to do it. And if they were interested, to post their email and a book link so he could check them out. So I'm not one to turn down an opportunity. So I posted my email. I posted my webpage link because I don't currently have books up for sale. And I did also post that, hey, I also do these live streams on Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel too, and they're on my website too. The reason I posted that was so that he could see that I am comfortable in front of a camera, that I have some experience in that, and a sense of camaraderie. Hey, you're starting podcasts, cool. I do these videos too, maybe we can help each other out type of thing. So the immediate response was, are you really advertising yourself on my post? And that just caught me completely off guard. This is not at all what I was trying to do. I was trying to provide him with information, some of which he requested. Yes, some of it was not what he requested, but it was helpful information, like posting a resume. That's the way I looked at it anyway. Needless to say, it kind of devolved from there and became very unprofessional and rude. And it just really, really bothered me so much. Not just because, hey, someone's being rude to me, it's more that we should be this tight-knit community, like independent authors, people who podcast about independent authors, who are usually independent authors themselves. We need to support one another. It's so hard to get your name out there. And if you're advertising a podcast where authors can come on and advertise their books, I'm not really sure why he was upset that I was advertising on his post. I mean, that kind of comes with the territory. Not to mention that this isn't radio. I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, because if you haven't watched that or listened to his podcast, I highly, highly recommend it. He sits down and he talks with different famous people, and he's a very intelligent man and has a lot of really smart things to say. And he was on recently talking about the difference now between radio and podcasting. So in radio, you had one time slot. That's it. There's one time slot that almost everyone listened to, and the other ones were kind of like, you never really made it until you got to that time spot. And if you did, no one else could get it. So it was very cutthroat. No one supported each other. Everyone was trying to stab each other in the back to climb up to the top of the pile. That's the way it was. It's the dynamic that was created. Now, podcasts are very different. So in podcasts, everything is on demand. And that's, I think, the biggest difference today versus entertainment at all, like in the past, is that everything is on demand. People can choose whatever they want to watch at any time. So you're not fighting over a time spot anymore. And there's not a limit. It's not like they can only watch 5 things a day. They can watch whatever they want, whenever they want. So there's no need for this backstabbing, climbing over each other to get to the top of the pile anymore. It's not necessary. I don't see why one podcaster couldn't help promote another podcaster. That's not saying that no one's going to watch my podcast now because I said his is better or his is cool. No, if you have something interesting to say, people will watch you. But you have to understand your tone when you talk to people in this community. If you broach people with a rude demeanor, you are not going to get far. You have to be able to work with people. You have to be a creative team. I recently, some of my big news that I wanted to share today. Hi, Joanne. Some of my big news today is that last week, I was doing some research because, as many of you might know, my end goal with these books is not just books. I would love to see them either as movies or as a TV series, whether on actual TV or I would actually prefer like Netflix or Prime Video. There's less restrictions and stuff there. You can do a lot more. It's very, very cool right now. And they're doing some amazing, wonderful things. But the problem is getting into any of those avenues, usually requires, in the past anyways, has always required an agent. Now, agents, their job is to know people and connect you to those people. And that's pretty much, that's what they do. End result. So the problem with finding an agent is that they don't want to speak to you unless you don't really need their services. Unless you're successful, they don't want to talk to you. And if I was successful, I wouldn't have to look for an agent. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. So I figured there has to be some better way. Nowadays with the way things are so on demand and the way you can find everything online, it's broken down so many barriers. So there had to be something different out there. And I came across this company called Voyage. It's a very, very interesting idea that I like a lot. So this company basically has like a network of producers that have done a lot of pretty big stuff in all different genres. And their goal is to create like this think tank of ideas. So they find authors and people who have great ideas, but don't necessarily have an agent or don't have any ins with the producing crowd, and connects them so that it's easier for producers to find projects they want to work on, and it's easier for projects to be found. So it's a very, very fascinating company. So they had, you filled out like a little application, which I did. And they asked some basic questions, your name and stuff like that. And if you have a finished project, what type of project, what genre is it in? And then they had a lot of questions about working creatively. Are you able to collaborate with someone? Are you willing to change things in your project to suit, a better selling item, to make it better? Are you willing to do that work? Are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to work as a team? Are you passionate about your project? They're all very important questions. It's awesome. So I filled out this little application. It got the immediate auto response saying that, we'll review your little application, and in 2 to 3 business days, you should hear a response from us if we're interested in speaking with you further. I got a response in 3 hours, which was pretty cool. I was happy. I don't know if that means anything, but it meant something to me, so it was cool. So I actually have like this kind of phone video chat appointment December 9th to speak with the owner of the company and talk more about my projects. So it's exciting news. That's pretty cool. But how that ties into what I was talking about with the writing community is that networking sense of community. If you separate yourself like that and you are like, my product's the only product that matters, it does not help your cause. It does not. It weakens the community as a whole. It's self-serving, and I just don't believe there's room for that kind of behavior anymore. In this kind of atmosphere, like, I mean, as in general, as people, we should be collaborating more and working together more, helping each other, especially in these hard times. Everyone should be doing that, but life as an indie author is hard. It's very difficult. Even if you have the best possible product out there, even if your book is, the book of the century, if nobody knows who you are, no one will read it. It will never be discovered. It will never turn into anything. And the only way that we can really help each other is by working and collaborating and supporting each other, advertising for each other, creating a network of people that say, hey, this book is awesome. Hey, also, I know this author. It's really cool. I know this podcaster. You should check him out. I know this person who does live stream videos and talks about books that you like. I think you should look at them. Look it up. See if you like the show. That's the only way we're going to make a difference in this day and age. So I really have, this is a call out to all the authors, all the people that are involved in literature, no matter what part of literature you're involved in, whether you're doing book covers or editing, publicizing, like whatever you're doing when it comes to literature, help and support your fellow person in that vein. Like if you have other people out there, support them. There's even, let's take an editor, for instance. Some editors only work on certain genres. So it's actually good for them to know other editors that do other genres, so that if they get someone that comes to them and says, hey, I have this project, would you edit it for me? They can say, you know what, I can't, it's not really my thing, but I have the perfect editor for you. Work together. It's so vitally important to work together. Create those good products, help get them out there, make a better, more supportive community. Like I used to, on Twitter, I used to be on there quite a bit, and because I came across hashtag writing community, and it was fantastic. Like you had all these different authors and they'd ask these prompting questions about writing or about subjects, or they just do writing prompts and let other people just like do little tiny snippets, because on Twitter you can't do a whole short story, you can only do so many characters. So, but it was very cool. He kind of did all kinds of things on there. It's very neat. And then it just became like, what is it called? A sort of writer's lift is what it's called on Twitter. When people post and other authors follow other authors so that people get more followers on Twitter, which, is good because, you get more exposure that way. But at the same time, it's the whole reason I was part of that writing community was because of these deep questions and this quest for knowledge and getting to know like the deepest parts of other people. It's very cool, especially other people that do things that I do, like other people that write. I actually met quite a few really good authors on there. And one of the people I met on there, actually, her name is Nora, and she was the English professor that read my first novel and loved the story. Definitely loved the story so much that she actually finished reading it despite all my grammar errors. So, there was a great community, but it's kind of just dissolved. And some people chalk it up to just, pure self-promotion. But there's ways that we can promote ourselves and each other without it just being, hey, like my page and I'll like yours. It's not very creative. We need to find better ways to communicate and support each other. I really believe that. And thank you, Joanne. It's an important message that I think needs to be said, because last night I was so upset. I was angry. You can ask Mandy. She was there. I was furious. I was like, how dare someone talk to me that way when I was trying to just be like helpful? It was ridiculous. But on the plus side, if he's going to act that way with everybody, he's not going to have much of a podcast. So there's that. I'm not out here to be petty. I really want people to learn from the experience and do better. Do better. All right. So I'm going to get off my little soapbox now. Bring it back down just a few notches, and we'll talk about some Ashcroft here. I know that anyone who's read the first book, pretty much knows who Ashcroft is. He's not very mysterious, I guess. But there were some lingering questions about his past and stuff like that. And some of it I have cleared up in the newer edition. But for instance, the fact that Ashcroft and his family, the reason that they weren't listed in the council's histories, Cohen and his lot. The reason they weren't listed in any of their books as a family name was because they had split from them very early on, even thousands of years before, this stuff happens between Gregor and Ashcroft originally. They split off because Ashcroft and his family were what were called rogues. So they were people that believed in the tenets that evil is greater than good. It's funny that Cohen and Lilith have a little debate about that. And she's like, I'm pretty sure popular culture thinks the opposite. And then he corrects her and he's like, well, what about, the dark side stronger than the force? You can do more things with the dark side. It's the cost of those dark powers that everything revolves around. And when the good guys win, it's just out of pure luck or the fact that the bad guys are suffering from the consequences they brought on themselves by going to the dark side. It's quite an interesting philosophy. I had fun playing around with that one. But Ashcroft and his family feel that they garner more power if they feed from people in darker ways, like pain and torment and anguish. So the reason why Cohen's family pretty much writes people off that are like that, disowns those people, is because they're dangerous. It's a lot harder to hide dead bodies and mutilated corpses than it is to just, kind of be a hoe. But the main philosophy there is to, if you get your kicks from seduction, get that energy without hurting anybody, and it's a whole lot easier to hide. And yes, they are a very nasty family and very evil, very entitled. They know that they feel like they are gods and that everyone else is beneath them. And it perfectly fits in with the way nobility was back in medieval Scotland. A lot of the stuff that I have in Gregor's story is very, very true. The caste system was extremely divided. There was no social justice. Gregor is right when he talks about that. Is there was no neutral party to make decisions between nobles and peasants, because peasants didn't matter. They were not much more above work animals. That's how they were viewed. So the fact that a peasant's life, even a 13 or 12-year-old girl, would be important enough to even raise a question to a noble was preposterous. Nope, not worth that. It's sad and unfortunate that, we actually for a long time, we treated animals better than we did our own people. Fun little side note I learned in psychology is that the first child abuse laws came about in England. We actually had animal abuse laws before we had child abuse laws. So if you were caught abusing an animal, you could go to jail. If you were caught abusing your child, that's your property. It's fine. Well, there's this judge who was brought this case of this child who was horribly, horribly mistreated, neglected, beaten, locked in a room, all kinds of stuff, couldn't really function as a person anymore. So the judge decided to deem the child as an animal because he was so abused that he no longer resembled a human. And then he convicted the parents based on the animal cruelty laws. It's pretty interesting stuff. Kind of sad too. Kind of sad. I mean, I love animals, but the fact that we wouldn't protect children, is it's horrible. So that was the thing with his son Clyde. So his son Clyde, he was basically like a serial rapist that killed and tortured young girls because that's how he fed. That was his weekly, monthly, whatever it was feeding. And they felt that they got more power because of that. Obviously not too much more because Gregor was still able to knock him unconscious and take care of business. So, guess there's limits. But they really believed that these dark emotions, these dark powers, gave them more strength. And it kind of ties in. So after Ashcroft is turned, you're introducing a alien DNA. Not that vampires are from space. Please don't take that as a sign. I'm just saying foreign. So a foreign DNA that comes in, and the way that Cohen's kind, the way that their body and physiology works is that they're very adaptive. They take in what they need to solve problems in the body. So you have this foreign DNA come in, and the way that their DNA reacted is they took the things that they needed or wanted from that DNA and kind of slowly started dissolving the rest. So that's why you see, when the doctor talks about the DNA strands and stuff, and how the primary strand and the secondary strand, there's no vampire markers on the primary strand, but the secondary strand, there are markers. So they kind of bled into each other and took the parts that they wanted. So the way that Ashcroft feeds now, after he's changed, possibly does give him all these impossible powers, because he's a culmination of this kind of demon tribe and vampire blended together with DNA that optimizes everything it has. And then when he feeds, he doesn't just torture people anymore. He drains their blood as he's torturing them and then drinks the blood. So maybe for some reason, because he's an aberration, the blood is different because it contains those emotions. So which allows him to be more powerful and super scary. Oof. Yeah. He's crazy. Very crazy. But when he recovers after Gregor attacks him and tortures him and then tries to turn him, and supposedly he dies and they bury him, but he didn't die. But when he crawls out of his grave, Gregor and Duncan are gone. I'm not sure that I actually mentioned that, and maybe I might need to go back and put that in while I'm doing this editing stuff, but it would make sense. There's nothing left for them but horrible, horrible, horrible memories. So it makes sense that they would just cut and run. And I'm pretty sure that's when they would really part ways. Not that they don't talk to each other, because obviously they've talked to each other all this time, but I believe that they would need time apart. Duncan is not okay with what Gregor did, and Gregor doesn't really want to be around a reminder of what he did all the time. So it makes sense that they would have some space and separate. So with Ashcroft unable to really find them, he kind of just works on himself and plots in the background and starts doing research and comes across information to kind of link together a family tree. And he starts picking off like these small, insignificant, distant relatives. And when he's doing that in very natural ways, because he doesn't want to let on that he's there yet. Like, he wants to wait until he gets to the core group to be known. But once he gets there, once it's just pretty much Lilith and Mariah and Duncan and Spencer and stuff, once it's that core group that's left, then he has this desperate need to be seen. He wants Gregor to know exactly who is doing this. Like, it almost started a little bit with his wife when he killed Gregor's wife, the Lilith's mom. Later on, when he killed her, he did leave little signatures that would at least give the inkling or the idea. But it had been so long, and they hadn't noticed anything really, that there's no reason why they would think that he was actually alive. Like, this preposterous. And Duncan definitely believes it first. Duncan is very prone to conspiracy theories. He's kind of unraveling a little bit now in his older age. We really don't know how old Gregor and Duncan are. Like, I don't really specifically give you a number. Yes, medieval Scotland happened 600 years ago, but who knows how old they were when that happened. They could have been much, much older, so you don't really know. But Duncan definitely starts to lose his grip. And that's one of the things, too, with conspiracy theories. You can go down the rabbit hole so easy, and then reality starts to unravel because you're picking at strands to form the picture rather than letting the picture form in front of you. At least that's the danger sometimes. So you have to be careful with those. So Duncan's kind of losing it a little bit, and even when he's completely convinced that Ashcroft is alive, Gregor still doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't believe it. He doesn't want to believe it, but more than that, he thinks that's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way he could have survived. And I think it's funny that Cohen's the first one that really pieces it together. Cohen's the first one that goes, oh, crap. Clyde's feeding habits sound like a schedule, like he is getting more than just that from it. Like serial killers and signature killers, they plot and they plan, and they are usually like on a schedule type of thing, but they also have like cold calculating techniques, or a lot of times everything is very focused. Like, they'll have a signature. They'll have one thing about the body that's the same every time. And Clyde wasn't like that. He did it on a schedule, but it was different every time. And, it was really just like picking up fast food and throwing the wrapper away. So Cohen's the first one that pieces that together. And he's like, well, what if Ashcroft wasn't human to start with? And the only reason he could survive being turned is if he was a fast healing race. The only fast healing race that Lilith knows about at this point is Cohen. So it's a pretty consistent logical leap. It's not that bad. It's not that big of a leap to consider that. So it's pretty fascinating. Also, when Ashcroft is faced with everything he's ever wanted, he has Lilith. He can take another daughter away from Gregor and make him watch. Just awful. He has Duncan, like an unraveled, bloody mess on the floor, who's he's gnawing at his own arm for food. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, everything he's ever wanted is about to come to fruition. But then what? And he starts to lose his composure. He wants to act compulsively. He doesn't want to show restraint. And that's what allows Cohen to kind of step in and say, hey, let's take over for you. I'll be the calm, logical person until you can collect yourself. And that, gives him a way to kind of sabotage the situation. Of course, Lilith doesn't really see it that way at the time. She just thinks that Cohen turned on her. So it's interesting that in the end, he loses composure and has the same thoughts that Gregor had when he had Ashcroft. So when Gregor was faced with the fact that the torture was going to come to an end, Ashcroft was going to die, and then what was his life going to consist of? What was going to happen next? And he couldn't let it end. He was desperate for it not to end because he needed that purpose to continue, because then what purpose would his life have after that? And it's interesting to me that Ashcroft has the same kind of crisis at the end, because once his goal is accomplished, then what? I mean, he's revealed himself. He can either turn Cohen or kill him, but like getting away with it isn't really an option then. I mean, in some respects, he's won, because he's made it very difficult for them to come out to the public. With all the disaster things that happen around him. But I mean, what can he possibly do after that? So Joanne's saying, Duncan, when it came to Ashcroft, always in his mind, never died, only became more dangerous. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, it didn't really occur to Duncan, really, until Gregor's wife died. When Gregor's wife died, he took that as a sure 100% sign that Ashcroft was still alive and had murdered Gregor's wife. 100%. He was convinced. And when he was sent that blood sample from the reporter, and then the reporter was killed, that's when he went into extreme, shutdown research mode and really started losing his grip with reality, because he was removing himself from reality to only study Ashcroft and everything about the family, and nothing else mattered. And he pushed his kids away, pushed everyone away. And the sad, sad fact is that, right at that time, when Rosaline, which is Lilith's mom, when she died, right at that time, it was right before Lilith goes to college in LA, Mariah gets married to Malachi, Spencer goes off to Glasgow, Scotland, to go to school for art appreciation. So if Duncan hadn't thrown himself into immense amounts of research and completely walled him off from everyone around him, Spencer may not have ever been turned to Ashcroft's side. If he had focused more on his own family instead of following these conspiracy theories, which even when he found out information, even when he had valid information, it never helped anybody. Not really. I mean, he sent a very cryptic letter to Lilith that was in invisible ink. How was she supposed to know that he even sent her anything on it? It wasn't just blank. Because his mind was unraveling at that point. His illogical mind assumed that she would know it's invisible ink and translate the message, and then everyone would be safe. But he lost his mind in that process of research. He lost his children in the process of research. And ultimately, Spencer was the downfall. And if he had paid more attention to him, things might have gone very, very different. So, it's all about choices. All about choices. It's very fascinating, and I like it. And the stories, they evolve as I write them. They always do. So, most of it wasn't intentional at first when I wrote it, but it's interesting to go back and analyze it afterwards and really, truly think about it. So it's fun. Yeah. So I want to talk about too my poll that I posted on the Facebook page. I had a few responses, not a lot, which I was hoping to get more, but so far it's been a resounding yes. So I might start working on reading Blood Lily I haven't really made up my mind exactly how I want to do it yet. So one option is that I can record them and then post them later. That gives me the opportunity to stop and go over if I missed something or I stumble over a word or something like that. I think that might be a better option than doing them live, because if I do them live, I might get distracted by the comments. So yeah, Spencer was jealous, especially of his sister, and dangerous as well, because when Duncan was losing his mind and, shutting everybody off, he still needed to function and maintain his job. And the only way he saw to do that was to rely on his daughter to do it. Because Mariah was the responsible one with experience, and she was accountant. So she could handle most of the day-to-day stuff that needed to be done. And Spencer was an art appraiser. I mean, what are you really going to do with that? So because he only saw Spencer for his functionality or lack thereof, that kind of drove him into this jealous resentment that ultimately became an easy gateway for Ashcroft to get into his head and sway him to his side. So yeah, Spencer's a very sad character to me. He's not just evil per se. I never really saw him as an evil character. I saw him as a wayward character, whose life could have been very different if things had changed, So yeah, he's a very sad character to me. Yeah. But yeah, he is kind of a prick too. He definitely makes it easy for you to not like him. So yeah. So I'm going to work on this idea for Blood Lily and reading it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to pre-record the videos and then post them. And then, maybe I'll do like a short weekly live stream discussing the parts of the book that I read. That might be kind of cool. Because honestly, for these live streams, I love doing them, and they're great, and they're a lot of fun, and I like connecting with you guys, but I'm kind of running out of ideas of what to talk about. So if you have ideas for me, let me know too. In the meantime, I'm hard at work. I have the hard edits in almost completely to chapter 20 done. It's very close for chapter 20 to be done. And then I have soft edits starting into chapter 22. So I'm getting there. At this rate, if I keep going at this pace, who knows? I might have it done I might actually have it done by the new year. This is my plan. That's my goal. You have to have a goal to strive for. So that's what I'm shooting for, is the new year by then. So maybe it'd make great Valentine's Day presents. So that'd be cool. I just have to get with Chris about the cover and stuff once I have the final page count. But I think it's going to be a lot cheaper to print this time, because I have cut a decent amount, and not entire scenes, but cut down on the wording, made things more concise, cut down on some of her internal conversations with herself, because a lot of those repeat. So the word counts come down quite a bit. In fact, let me see right now. Right now, I'm sitting at 143,406 words, which is just about 30,000 words less than the original printing. So way more concise. It's very cool. I'm doing a lot of heavier edits actually in the back of the book, because the way that I write books is I'll just be in a fit where I'm just writing for days and weeks and whatever. So I write, and then I take a break. And then in order for me to get back in the flow, I edit what I've written already and then continue. So the front of the book gets edited like 25 times, where the back of the book only gets edited a couple times. So it's always going to be heavier in the back of the book. So that's my projects. That's what I'm working on, guys. If you have any questions, you have any ideas for next week, just let me know. I hope that you all have a very wonderful Thanksgiving. I will be working. It's the life of a nurse. But we're doing a big, huge Thanksgiving dinner here on Friday, so that's really cool. We'll have some friends over and stuff and lots of good food. End of year for both books 1 and 2, or just one? Just one. Just one. I haven't even touched the edits on Rose of Jericho. I want to finish Blood Lily first, make sure I have a completed project, like that it's a completed product for the Books event in Harrisburg in September of next year. So once I'm 100% positive that I have physical product in my hand of Blood Lily, then I will start on Rose of Jericho edits. Once the edits for Rose of Jericho are done, then I can get started on book 3. So can't hold me to this because this is a goal. It's not a promise. But my goal is that once I have Blood Lily done and I get into Rose of Jericho, that hopefully I can get it re-edited and done before the event in September, because I would really love to show up there with 2 books. It would be great. So if I can make it happen, that's what I'm going to try to do. So if things go that way, let's work out the timing. So say Blood Lily is done by the new year, and say I actually get Rose of Jericho edited and done and complete by September, then hopefully I can finish and edit book 3 and release it hopefully the following fall, October, November time. So that's the timing that I really want to work for. So unfortunately, that does mean that it's about 2 years away for book 3. But I'm going to work as hard as I can, and we'll see what happens. I do usually like fall releases for my books because they are kind of like in the horror genre, and they seem to do better in, the fall months. But, if I can release it sooner than that, I'll definitely think about it, because I know you guys have been waiting for quite a while. And these edits have set everything back farther. So I'll just be excited to actually have a product, because as much as I love doing these videos, I'm drumming up so much interest in a product that I don't have available right now. So, when I do release Blood Lily, we will have like a book release party right here on Facebook. I will make it happen. Invite everybody, and we don't need to meet in a physical location. We can all celebrate here. It'll be awesome. So I wish you guys the best of luck this week. Have a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope you at least get to spend some time with some family and friends. Stay safe. COVID is a very scary thing. I deal with it all the time at work. I work in a long-term acute care unit. So basically it's a step down from ICU. So when people, especially with COVID, are healthy enough to leave ICU, but not healthy enough to go anywhere else yet, we get them. Usually when we get them, they are in recovery, which means they're not infectious anymore, typically. So it's, not a huge risk to me, but, there's a risk involved in everything. So basically the aftermath of COVID is not pretty. So if you can avoid it, definitely please do so. But, it's also important to live, because we don't know how long COVID's going to be around. We don't know how long these restrictions are going to be around. I'm very nervous for my wedding next year because, I might have to take COVID precautions, and I will not wear a face mask at my wedding. It's just not going to happen. One way or another, I'm going to make something else happen. So it's important to also live in this moment and find ways to adapt. So stay safe, but don't live so much in fear that you don't actually live. So that's my my takeaway there. Hi, Lisa. Oh, I haven't seen you in forever. Thank you. I hope I do have a pretty good holiday. It'll be slow at work because it's Thanksgiving, and they're not allowing visitors now because COVID has, had such an uptick in our area. So no visitors allowed for the patients right now. So it should be a pretty quiet shift, hopefully, knock on wood. It's sad. I should never ever say that. It's definitely jinxing myself. And I do have to work tomorrow. So it's kind of a weird week for me. Usually I have like several days off at a time, and no, I work tomorrow. I have off Wednesday, so I can do well, actually I don't have to do cyber school because they have off of school. Yay. So I actually have a free Wednesday. Then it's Thanksgiving, I work, and then I have Friday off, and then I work Saturday, Sunday. Then I go back to my normal schedule. So at least until Christmas time. Holidays always mess up your schedule. Oh my goodness. At least I don't work Christmas this year. Anyways, to wrap up, have a great holiday, guys. Hopefully I will see you guys next week. I will post an event and let you know what day and time I'm planning on doing something. In the meantime, if you guys have questions or ideas or things for me to talk about, please share them, because I am running out of stuff to talk about, at least writing related and stuff. But if you have any general questions too about me personally, you feel free to ask. I'm an open book. I will share. And in the meantime, I will let you guys, excuse me, I'll let you guys know about Blood Lily and what I'm planning to do with that. And like I said, it's probably going to be pre-recorded. So I'll work on that. But I think it's going to be really cool because I can post it to my YouTube page. Then you can go to YouTube and you can click on my YouTube channel and listen to the video, and it'll just go from video to video to video to video. So yeah, that's my plan. Basically kind of like a visual audiobook without all the expense of an audiobook and hiring a voice actor. So I'm not sure I could read it perfectly enough to be an audiobook. Okay, so I will let you guys know the updates when I get them. December 9th is going to be pretty big, hopefully. So I will let you guys know the result of that afterwards. But until then, hopefully I see you guys next week. Have a great holiday, and please stay safe. Also, please make sure your family knows how much you love them. It's very important, especially this time of year. You got to watch out for those people, especially in these certain times that are isolated and prone to depression. So reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, make sure everyone around you knows that they are loved. And you guys stay safe.